Welcome to the Office of the Leader of the Opposition press conference for April 20th, 2023. Today, with me on the press conference will be none other than the Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Aubrey C. Norton, Member of Parliament. Today's statement will be read by the Leader.
Participation in local government election 2023. Permit me to thank all our members, supporters, and all Guyanese who continue to support a partnership for national unity and the People's National Congress reform, enabling us to participate in local government elections nationwide. Your support is appreciated and a clear indication that we are a strong political force. We hereby formally announce to the nation that the APNU, of which the PNCR is a part, will be participating in the local government election scheduled for 12th of June 2023. On Monday, 17th April, we submitted our list of candidates to the Guyana Elections Commission across the length and breadth of Guyana. We will continue to pursue our appeal on the let them issue. We did not arrive at the decision to participate readily. Several of our concerns over the electoral system remain extant and unresolved. GCOM chairperson, for instance, has failed to address our main demand for a clean voters list and the call for biometrics at the place of poll. Our participation in local government elections 2023 does not mean we have dropped this demand. On the contrary, we intend to intensify our campaign for a clean voters list and metrics. While in several other countries, the Elections Commission strive to make their electoral system more secure and trustworthy, GCOM under Claudette Singh has achieved the opposite, the erosion of public trust and confidence in our elections. She and the PPP government must bear all the blame for this state of affairs and for any political fallout therefrom. Our decision to participate in local government election 2023 was driven by one determinative factor, and that is we could not boycott and thereby allow the vindictive PPP to get control of the local councils in Guyana, especially our strongholds. Nor could we allow the PPP to occupy all council seats in the traditional constituencies. We therefore intend to campaign to win as many councils and council seats as possible to be able to, protect our supporters in their communities from the viciousness of the People's Progressive Party. 2, to be positioned to expose the incompetence and corruption of the PPP and to resist its excesses in communities. 3, to represent and give voice to the concerns and demands of all Guyanese. 4, to ensure that the PPP does not further destroy local democracy and continue to advance the dictatorship at the local level. And 5, to demonstrate to the people that we are a credible alternative to govern this country. From feedback over the past months, we believe that our supporters understand that the pros outweigh the cons behind this decision. We know they will continue to stay focused and resolute throughout this election cycle as we challenge the PPP dictatorship. We can expect the PPP to unpack its old bag of dirty tricks. Already it is engaged in a scheme of coercion, intimidation, and bribery of voters. The PPP has brought this country to a sad state where citizens must stifle their conscience and sell their souls or otherwise lose their jobs, including 10-day workers, contracts, and those receiving handouts. Freedom to vote one's conscience is a basic democratic principle that is being eroded by the PPP. We must therefore collectively condemn such acts by the PPP as degrading and disdainful of the rights and dignities of people. The PPP continues to make lawlessness and corruption a part of our political culture in Guyana. We reject this lowering of the standards by the corrupt, divisive, and incompetent PPP. The APNU wishes to bring to the attention of all Guyanese that the PPP forged the signatures of many Guyanese. This is another manifestation of their corrupt nature. Many of those persons whose signatures were forged by the PPP in support of the PPP wrote GCOM demanding the withdrawal of their names. We await the outcome of that. In addition, we wish to condemn the PPP for threatening persons who support the APNU list and involving the police in the intimidation of citizens in places like Wakanam, among others. This further corrupting of the electoral system is undemocratic and does not augur well for the political system in Guyana. It is of deep concern that the PPP continues to be a crookish political party. In the Woodlands Bel Air NDC, the PPP's list was rejected by GCOM officials because all the signatures for first past the post and proportional representation were signed by one person. The PPP was given up to Tuesday, 18th April, to correct this illegality. They made another submission, and again, all of them were signed by one person for everyone. Unfortunately, GCOM illegally has given them the go-ahead to participate. It must be noted that there are persons who are thumbprinters, and rather than their thumbprint appearing, they were signed for. This amounts to fraud and will be challenged. We have a copy of those fraudulent signatures. At this point in the state of the nation, these elections extend well beyond local and community considerations. These elections are also a referendum on the PPP's term in office. Voters must use these elections to register their frustrations, distress, and despair over how the PPP governs. They must vote to send a message to the PPP government over the high cost of living, its corruption, incompetence, Sugate, and other scandals, its disdain and disrespect for the concerns, rights, and dignities of ordinary people, and its pathological obsession to control everything in Guyana. In local government 2023, therefore, Guyanese must vote not only for what they see on the ballot paper, they must use their ballots to protest against the PPP and to send the message that Guyana can and must do better. Apology to Tamika Garnett of the Guyana Chronicle. The APNU wishes to apologize to Ms. Tamika Garnett for the outburst of one of our members against her. We believe that this is not the appropriate way to deal with a journalist. However, we support the view that the Guyana Chronicle is a political rag that is controlled by the PPP and is not deserving of being treated as a newspaper since it uses taxpayers' money to promote PPP partisan interests and is therefore not deserving of respect. We wish to reaffirm our view that all journalists must be treated with respect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, I will take questions on the press statement. Of course, we start with the raise of hand, and you can state your media entity. I see the hand of Mr. Adam Harris.
A very good morning, all.
Good morning.
Comrade Leader, two quick questions. One, you talked about the local government elections, and I heard a statement from the president attempting to criticize you for saying that a lot of the people who wore red jerseys were part. Your reaction to his reaction, that's the first one. And the second one is everyone talks about defection from the party and what have you. And in Georgetown, it appears as though Miss Patricia Chase Green is one of the famous detectives. Again, your reaction, sir.
Let me start with the last one. I would say infamous, but if you say famous, it's your right. But let me say this to you. You know, Chase Green was operating in Meadowbrook. Meadowbrook Chase Green long now. It's a while since the people of Meadowbrook would have rejected Chase Green. In the 2018 election, she could not run as a constituency candidate because the people in Meadowbrook were saying that she did nothing for them, she didn't serve them. And so she was placed on the PR list and was chosen as a councillor. Now, Ms. Chase Green has a right to choose whichever political party she wants to go to. That's her democratic right, and we have no problem with that. But we are aware of the fact that our candidate will beat the daylight out of her and that she's not well respected in the area. There is no other prominent name that I have known that would have left the party. In fact, one person purporting to be key in the party was never key in the party. Now, I come to President Irfan Ali. I think he's obligated to try to browbeat people. In every community in this country you go, people are telling you they were paid. There was one circulating where a man said if he knew he could have made 10,000 in so quick a time, he would have been doing it. Now, all around, people are telling you that they were paid. And then there are the 10 days workers who engage us and said to us, we need to see with them, they are being threatened, etc., but their support is with us. And so many of them were forced to go. In the case of a contractor, he was told if he doesn't sign, he can't get any more contracts. The 10-day workers were told that their contract renewal is coming up, I think, in June. And if they don't go, the contract wouldn't be renewed. So Irfan Ali has always been dishonest. And so I expect no better. But all I can say to you, the evidence suggests that one, they paid people. Two, they forced workers. Three, they forged signatures. In Plaisance, for instance, we had to put in writing that people said they did not sign and objected. We are looking to see what the Elections Commission should do because this amounts to fraud. I also understand in Better Hope, they put the name of a man's spouse, and the spouse went and said that she never signed for him as a candidate. And so across the country, the PPP has been involved in illegalities to get their list up and running. And one of the reasons they were fighting to be first on all the lists, I mean, they didn't succeed, was because they know once your list is caught with such activities, you will have to go back. And the first person tend to get through because if names are duplicated, then it is the second list that has to change. But in this case, it is blatant fraud. The PPP was involved in fraud, and we will pursue this matter to the end.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis Shabbat.
Good morning, Mr. Norton.
Good morning.
In relation to the claims of people being bought and so on, and also the signatures, do you have any, in the case of the signatures, do you have any samples you can release to us? And secondly, is there at least one or two persons who might be willing to come forward and say that they were paid? I know that it might be, you may say it might be politically sensitive and people may be unwilling, but given what I seem to think that you're saying that it's a large number of persons, could we have at least one or two of those persons?
Were I a journalist, I would go to those people and promise them I will deal with it anonymously.
But are you willing to give us the names of the persons?
There are many people that you can get the names of. But I'm saying to you, I prefer, rather than it be considered we doing it, go out there. There are many people out there. In Linden, we had cases where by the time they left there, they take off the jersey and throw it away. If you go into Linden, you can talk to people. So I would say, as journalists, you all need to go there and get it. There are people we know that admitted that they were paid. in Pleasance, in Linden, all around. I can probably check to see if any of them are willing to come and say it on camera.
Okay, and secondly, in terms of the signatures, do you have samples of these?
We have the documentation for Woodland Bel Air. In fact, as I speak, it should be arriving anytime at Congress Place shortly. I think you should be able to get that. But I know we have that, where one person signed for all of them, and that at least one or two persons should have been thumbprints, but suddenly they learned to sign. And as I understand it, if you register with a thumbprint, you really should really be putting a thumbprint rather than a signature.
So what will be your next step with respect to these signatures?
We have already dispatched
Objection.
letters of objection to GCOM. We await it, but I believe that these are matters of fraud. Of course, I know there are allegations of fraud and corruption against Jack Dale, and nothing happened. But we believe that these are allegations of fraud, and we have to pursue them at the level of law enforcement and possibly bring private criminal charges against some.
Thank you. Mr. Kurt Campbell.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Norton. Kurt Campbell from the newsroom.
Morning.
Now that you formally announced the participation of the APNU in local government elections, I wanted to solicit from you how many constituencies is the party contesting in, and on a more larger scale, how many of the 70 local authority areas and 10 municipalities?
Virtually all. In Letem, we had a problem, and we wrote the Elections Commission and that, and dealing with that. But in many the other areas, we have submitted. I think we had a problem at Grove, and they weren't submitted. But across the country, we have submitted in virtually all the NDCs, all the constituencies, and all the tongues, except I think for Letem, where there is a problem.
Right. I'm sorry, when you say virtually all, do you have any numbers I can work with?
We might be short on like 3 or 4, if so many.
Okay, I have a second question, but it's off the statement. I'll wait until I can ask.
Yes, we'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
I see the hand of Ms. Garnett. Ms. Tamika Garnett.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Chronicle.
Good morning.
My question is about the Patricia Chase situation. Earlier, Mr. Norton said that Ms. Green ran as a PR candidate in 2018. However, GCOM has her listed as a constituency candidate, garnering actually the most votes for her constituency that year.
Or 2016 you are referred to.
Oh, 16, my bad. So why would you go to 2016 and skip over 2018?
Well, if you look at it, you see she ran as constituency in 2016. But by 2018, she was so unpopular in the area. As far as I know, the party took a decision that we cannot put her to run in the constituency because it would have been bad news. And we placed her on the PR list and put her back at the city council.
No, but she's listed as a constituency candidate both years.
I will double check that, but I will double check that. But as far I said I will double check that, but as far as I know, in 2016 she was a constituency candidate, and by 2018, the community there was suggesting that she's not the kind of person they would support.
GCOM's page has it different, and they have her listed as a constituency candidate.
I heard you. I will double check.
She has 2,212 votes.
I will double check it. I will double check it.
3,000 votes in 2016.
I will double check it. I will double check it. And I want to say this to you. when we did our assessment, she was unpopular. However, you are aware that our constituencies support the APNU AFC. And therefore, she would have gotten the support of the APNU and not necessarily the support of individuals in the constituency. Now, we believe that she has been rejected by that community over the years, is the reason for which she wasn't returned as mayor. And so I will check what you would have said. But in our party, we are convinced from our feedback from our supporters that we couldn't carry her back as mayor for another term. And in an attempt to show gratitude, we kept her on the list, but we didn't put her back as mayor.
So prior to her leaving to move across to the PPC, was there ever any discussion that she indicated to the party that she was leaving or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge, but the party had known. Don't forget, we have our own network, and the party had known that she had shifted away from the PNC and that she was benefiting from the PPP. In fact, I think in fact,
Chase Green was not the only APNU member city councillor to have shifted over as well. We also saw Miss Priya Richards. I'm hoping I pronounced her name right.
Mm-hmm.
Did she give any indication that she would be moving across? And additionally, when I spoke with her on Monday, she said one of the reasons for her leaving is that she has lost all confidence in APNU and that not much is being done in her community through under the APNU. So that was one of the basis for her leaving. What does the APNU now say to about her leaving?
All I would say to you is this: one, she did signal that she was leaving. Two, she didn't do anything as the constituency rep. I don't know who she would blame if she was the constituency rep and people weren't seeing her. And the next thing I want to say, I do not believe that she is of any consequence to impact the outcome of our elections, and we will have the opportunity to see at the end of local government 2023.
Oh, my next question, going in the same vein of the local government election and the councillor. We saw that from 2016 to 2018, the APNU saw a massive reduction in support in the local government elections. How is it that the APNU can now still be confident going forward to 2023 elections, even as members of the party are walking away from the party?
Because first of all, we have a lot of new persons who are well respected. We have been campaigning on the ground a while. Secondly, the atrocities of the PPP in places like Mocha, etc., would have helped us to galvanize our support. And we are confident that we are going to beat the PPP and regain some of the lost vote. Don't forget, when you're in government, there's the tendency sometimes for negatives to accumulate, as the PPP would have known throughout its history.
All right.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. My next question, I want to move, I think it's remiss of me to just say something on the apology and the situation with Ms. Carol Joseph. Firstly, with the apology, well, I would have messaged you earlier today about my thoughts on the apology in terms of, I think it could have been better put across. But what now is the party doing moving forward in terms of adjusting its treatment of journalists going forward, or what will you, is there any kind of, going to be any kind of a training for your party members or anything in terms of how they move forward interacting with the
First of all, the party has always interacted with journalists in a particular way. While I avoid going down that road, you would agree, Miss Garnett, that if you cop a phone and talk to somebody and call them babes, and I listen to the what you call it, first of all, you would agree it comes over as informal. Secondly, it is journalistic ethic that a journalist who is going to tape somebody should indicate to that person they are taping them. And as I understand the law, it's an offense to tape people without their permission. And that is why I try to avoid going down that road, because I want to treat you as a young journalist who has potential, might have made mistakes. I know full well what the journalists at Chronicle and NCN goes through with Kwame Mackay and his directives and diktats, etc. So I was trying to avoid getting too deep into it. But all I can say to you, my dear, is that we respect you as a journalist. We will treat you as a journalist. We believe it is unfortunate that you're working in an institution that has been politicized, and therefore it generates some problems sometimes. But be reassured that journalists will be treated properly. And for me, I have always held the view that when I speak with you, I'm not speaking to Tamika Garnett. I'm speaking to a Chronicle journalist. And I try to draw a distinction between Tamika Garnett, the person, and Tamika Garnett working in this political outfit that is not conducive to proper journalism.
Thank you.
Yeah, but at any level, does that give a party member the right to, I get a feeling like you're trying to say because it was recorded or something that somehow validates the language used. At that point in time, Ms. Joseph,
we have long said,
spoke to me as it,
and
I would still dress.
In our statement, we made it clear that that is not how it should be done. We agree with that. But I don't want, what I pointed out to you was really to establish that in some regard, we are allowing journalistic ethics to go, and we should return to them. A journalist should call and said, Leader of the Opposition, I want to do an interview with you. Some journalists still do it, and they say, do I have permission to record you? And if I say yes or no, you act based on it. I'm just saying to you, I'm not here attacking you. I'm just saying to you that there are certain journalistic ethics. If we put them back in place, then the relationship will improve. Put differently, there is need for action among the political parties, government, and also on the side of journalists.
This is the final for me. Can you just give a comment on the moving forward now that this situation has come about and how it will be used as a springboard for better relations with your party and the media, whether state media or private?
As far as I'm concerned, one, we have a good relationship with the media. Two, I don't know of any conflict we have had with the private media. I think if Chronicle honors taxpayers and give equal treatment to opposition, government, everyone, if Chronicle desists from making the newspaper into a political rag that carries the PPP position and exclude the opposition and anybody who disagrees with them, because many people say they write letters to Chronicle and they refuse to publish it. So it is not solely political parties. It is a bad culture that has developed at Chronicle and NCN that needs to change so that we can move forward. And once those changes are coming on the side of NCN and the Chronicle, I think we can move forward.
All right. At this time, I will take the question from Miss.
Can I just
Miss.
Leave her. Let you come to the follow-up. Okay. Yes, go ahead with your follow-up.
Speak a little bit on how the demeanor of the Guyana Chronicle under the current administration is different from what presented itself under the new administration, bearing in mind that I've been working at the Guyana Chronicle since 2013. I've been there under both administrations.
Could I ask you
what's going on now different from what the
could I ask you if under the APNU AFC the Guyana Chronicle did not carry all the debates of or most of the debates of the opposition in Parliament, especially on the budget? Under us, they were carried. And in this case, only things that were carried were negatives. NCN, Jack Dale used to be ranting and raving on NCN. Now there is no access to NCN by the opposition. And so it's different, though there might be similarities.
All right, thank you. I see the hand of Miss Svetlana Marshall.
Hi, good morning. I have three questions. They're a bit hybrid on the statement of the statement. Mr. Norton, could you say why the Central Executive Committee of PNCR has not met for the year? And secondly, could you say why the CEC was not consulted on the selection of candidates for the local government election? And what role do you play in the selection of candidates for the municipality of Georgetown?
All right, first
Those are
of
my
all,
three questions.
it is untrue that the CEC didn't meet for the year. We met in January, we met in February, we met on the 2nd of March, and we're scheduled to meet in April. So we have been meeting as stipulated. May I also point out to you that some of the misinformation you're getting from people aren't true. This question of local government election, the central executive met and we discussed it in its entirety, the pros and cons, before we even come to a decision. So it is not true that the CEC didn't meet. Now, I don't know if you know the nature of local government elections, but a lot of the decisions are made at the local level. At the level of the municipality, those members at the level of the municipality and the NDC met and decided who they want to run. One of the things I committed as leader of the party to change when I become leader was the situation where people sat at the center and determined for local government what they should do. In this regard, all we did was to have like oversight, but all the decisions on who run and who don't run were made by the people at the local level, and that is what local democracy entails. Local democracy doesn't entail we of the people take it to central exec and then central exec determine for that. There are negative consequences to that. If you talk to all the people on the list across the country, they will tell you they were involved at the local level and local people made the decisions as to who will constitute the list, who will be PR, and who will be constituency. Now, you would agree that constituency, the people on the ground will know much more than anybody on a central executive. You imagine the central executive making a final decision on an area that they're not familiar with, and many of the people there. So we are taking local democracy to the people. They have made those decisions, and the central executive of the party has always been an institution that governs the party, but adheres to the will of the people. Is there another question
Yes, I have two other questions. Sir, could you spoke about the party registering its objection to Chica with regards to signatures, not enough signatures on the part of the PPP and people using their signing when they would use conference in the past. Could you say how many such instances the party would have reported? And secondly, Sarah, you spoke about the former mayor of Georgetown and her departure from the party. There are some of those, there are people who are of the opinion that the departure of Ms. Chase Green and other well-known PNC members from the party is an indication that the PNCR and the APNU is in a state of disintegration. How do you respond to those claims?
If you could find representation in more than 75 of the 80 local authorities, if you could find representation in all of the councils, how then do you argue for disintegration? Now, may I also say this? I don't know anything but the mayor leaving the party. The only thing I know about the mayorship, very early, the mayor and I had discussions, and we had agreed in principle that the mayor could contest. When I got that information, I said to the mayor, yes, I am prepared, we were satisfied. It was one of our members, Ganesh Paul, who shadows local government, that pointed out to us that that a person can only run 5 terms, and each term is a year. Excuse me. When I got that information, I contacted Mr. Vincent Alexander, who you know is a specialist in local government, and he confirmed that that is true. And so I don't know of anybody doing anything to the mayor except I had promised him that I was satisfied with his performance and that I was prepared to go forward with him as mayor before it was pointed out to us that you cannot run for more than 5 years, and most of the mayors that would have served for 5 years.
Oh, thanks for that response. And just a clarification, sir, I was referencing to the former city mayor and not the current.
The former
mayor.
what?
But I was referencing to Ms. Patricia Chase Green and not the current city mayor. But thank you for your response, sir.
All right. I see the hand of Mr. Adam Harris.
Yes, I have a question to deal with the defection. I remember way back when Hamilton Green formed his GGG, many PNC members went with him. Do you see, and he came back, obviously, after that, for the general elections. Do you think this is a similar trend that local government doesn't attract the kind of emphasis that the general election does? And the other, well, let's stick with that one because there are other people who want to ask. I'll come back.
Let me say this to you, Adam, and you should know this from experience. After any political party would have lost government, there is the tendency for some people, especially those who are not well grounded and rooted in the party, to go to another political party. Defection is not new in Guyana. Chandy Singh, Vincent Tika defected to the PNC in the 70s. In the case of Hamilton Green, I don't think it was a defection. Hamilton Green was expelled from the party, and Hamilton Green chose to run and did extremely well in the election. So I would say that essentially it is not a trend, but there have been cases where people tended to move in another direction. I can tell you I have been in the PNC since 1972, and in all political parties, including the PPP, in the immediate post-election period, there is always a situation where people vacillate. If you look at Jamaica, if you look at Trinidad, you will see similar trends. There is always an uncertainty that goes with the immediate post-election period in all countries in the world.
Mr. Norton, follow up.
One second, Mr. Shabral, because I have 2 hands up a while now. When I'm done with them, I'll get to you. Mr. Kurt Campbell.
Thank you. I'll ask my question of the statement. Mr. Norton, you read the party's statements today on your own, and I think it's an opportune time to ask you about the support you've received since assuming the leadership of the PNCR and consequently opposition leader. And this is being asked against the backdrop of the notable absence of the majority of your 23 APNU MPs during the nomination day activities on Monday.
Like I said to you, as far as I know, nomination day was a local activity. If the MPs were involved, for instance, I saw Don Hastings was involved in
Oh, I'm Bartica.
in Bartica. I saw Figuera involved in
Linden.
Linden. And then I don't know, you said how many MPs?
23 APNU MPs?
I don't know that there are 23 APNU. I think it's 21, however. But
Okay.
as it relates to the support of the party, like I said before, that we could have mobilized and ensured participation across the country, it is indicative of the fact that our support is there. And even with the money at the disposal of the PPP and with all their dirty tricks, we have been able to produce credible candidates and have been able to set up the list to participate. On the question of members of parliament, all members of parliament, I know, or many of them participated. When I was in Mocha, Nima Flubest was there. I can check, I think Cox was there in Region 1. So I don't know why you arrive at the conclusion that they weren't involved. Many of them are regional MPs. I saw a picture of Vince Roy Jordan in Region 5. I saw a picture of our Region 2 MP, Sherwin Holder. So I know Ganesh Maipal was out the country. I know Manza Walton was out the country. But I think your conclusion is a wrong one.
Thanks for that response. Just a quick follow-up. Could you answer the substantial question about the support you've received from or internally as leader of the PNCR and the opposition leader? Thank you.
As far as I know, I have the support of the PNCR, members of parliament, for me, the most important support is the support of the membership of this party and the people on the road and the ground. Those support I have. As far as I know, I have supported the members of parliament. When we had the budget, we were able to rally all the members of parliament and confronted the PPP budget and expose them. I heard from many APNU, AFC members of parliament that the leader's presentation was one of the best they would have heard. But I don't want to go down that road. We'll continue to do the work and ensure that we strengthen and achieve our objectives. And mind you, we must not forget that where more than two people are assembled, there's the tendency for one or two to not want to pursue the general objective. We will work towards the general objective, but you're dealing with human beings sometimes who have their own agenda.
Thank you. Miss Rihanna.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Rihanna Ramsey, Culture News. I heard you speaking about the mayor. He was your choice for the mayor candidate for APNU. Who would be the next person in line, given that he's not committed to run another term?
First of all, you did not hear me say he was the choice mayor. I said we had a discussion, and I said I was prepared to support him for mayor. And I want to.
So who are you prepared to support now?
Now, I am not getting involved in that. Let me say this. Like I said before, our party committees will determine once elected and we get the persons that are elected, we will meet and determine who is the best candidate to be mayor. I don't want to now say I will choose X. And then when you get in the field, somebody else emerges as a more popular person, etc. So I will not go down the road of saying I support this person or that person. I made it very clear. I said I was satisfied with the mayor, Rajin Orion, and I did indicate to him I was willing to give him my support. And in this present situation, people will campaign. I just said to you, it's a decision that you have to make with the people in the constituency, with the people in the NDC, with the people in the municipality. And we will do that and then arrive at who will be mayor where.
Thank you.
But I also want to say, your question is a tacit acknowledgement that we will win a number of mayorships. Thank you.
All right. I will give Mr. Sherбал, who apparently wanted to ask the question, and then I will get to Mr. Adam Harris, as I promised.
Thank you. Mr. Norton, give me your concerns about the voters lists, in this case lists. What are some of the safeguards your party intends to put in place to ensure that you preserve the integrity of the votes that are in the ballot, that are being put in the ballot, into ballot boxes? And secondly, why, given the repeated concerns by the APNU and even the AFC about the manner of governance by the People's Progressive Party, has your party and coalition been able to attract new and fresh faces much more, and prominent new and fresh faces, as well as much younger candidates across the board, especially for the city of Georgetown?
Well, could you point out to me the average age of the city of Georgetown candidates? I've seen many young people on the.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's what he said.
What is the question? Unless I missed the question.
I'm trying to ask from you,
Mm.
why is it that given your concerns about the manner and style of the governance of the PDP, have you been able to attract any defections, and even also having much younger and more prominent persons coming over to the coalition?
Well, we mean attract from the PPP to us?
Yes.
We weren't working on getting people from the PPP to come to us. That's the first point. Secondly, when a government is in power, they tend to hold their membership. And so I anticipate that they would hold their membership. We didn't set out to pull anybody from the PPP. We set out to have our list with young, credible people, or mix, or let's have a mix of skills. And I think a lot of people have not paid attention to the entire list and to recognize that there are people there who have the skills that can run a city. And that is what we'll focus on.
And the safeguards in light of the concerns about the integrity of the voters lists?
All right. First of all, I would say this to you. In any elections, you have to prepare to scrutinize the election. We are going to prepare and put our scrutineers there to scrutinize it. It is much easier in a local government election to scrutinize what is happening. Even though there are flaws, we will seek to strengthen our scrutinizing of the election and minimize the illegalities. We have outlined the 5 reasons why we are participating. And we will continue to struggle for a clean voters list and biometrics. But we do not believe that we could have allowed the PPP to just take over all of these NDCs and to dominate the country totally.
Thank you. I see the hand of Mr. Adam Harris.
Common Leader, in some local government areas, there are lists prepared by people from the community, people who would normally have voted for your party had there not been a local list. Even in Georgetown, this is happening. I don't want to call names about the Georgetown people, but is that a concern?
No, it
Or
isn't.
do you? Yeah, go on.
No, it isn't. Our party has always taken the position that local people should be involved in local government elections. In some NDCs, people approached the party and said to us they wanted to run as a group. And we said we have no problem with that. We believe political space should be created for others, but we took the position that as a party, in the tongues, it is we who have to take on the People's Progressive Party, and we will do that. But we are not against In fact, there are some areas that there is a kind of a dual candidacy. Some constituencies we put candidates, and some constituency we allow candidates to emerge that are at the level of a individual group. So I see no contradiction. I see no question of problems. Let us not forget that from 1994 right through, we were the advocates for depoliticizing local government and allowing political parties to go to the regional and general election, but leave local government to local people. It was the PPP that opposed it. And so we have to live in the real world, and that we have done. Areas that we think groups can do well and work their magic, we have no problems with that. But the areas in which we think we need to take on the PPP, we will do just that.
Thank you.
Even if it, sorry, sir, even if it means that these groups will attract votes that would traditionally have come to you, because splitting the vote.
Well, you're assuming that in those areas that we agree that we are running,
Georgetown,
Georgetown, is there another group contesting in Georgetown?
I saw a group headed by Bobby Vera.
Oh, yes, he did indicate that he wants to go as an independent. In the nature of a Democratic Party, we can't oppose that. We just have to allow them. But as it comes to pulling the votes, I don't see that group pulling votes from the APNU. And that is my straight and correct answer.
Did you try to appeal to him to not split the vote?
That is an internal issue. But I never did say anything about splitting the vote to Bobby Vera. Vera has the right as a Guyanese to, if he wants to go and run, he runs. We don't take offense. I don't see the need for go telling Bobby Vera anything about splitting votes, because I don't believe they can split any votes.
But did you try to convince him to run in your state?
No, I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I still see the hand of Miss Rihanna. Is your hand still up, or is that a mistake? All right. At this time, we'll take any.
No, don't run away, please. One.
All right.
After this, I will shut my mouth.
Go ahead, Mr.
Excuse me, sir. After Monday, with all the talk about people getting $5,000 for giving the red jersey, there has been talk that a sum of money, I heard as much as $100,000 with half up front, being offered to people for the vote, provided they photograph the ballot paper with their vote and send it in. Now I need to know, is there any regulation that prevents someone from photographing their votes in the place of poll? And secondly, have you heard of this financial approach to people for votes?
First of all, a vote is a secret ballot. And we have insisted in elections before that people should not be allowed to take their cell phone in, and we will continue to pursue that, because people should not be allowed to put a secret ballot in the public domain. I will have to check with the lawyers to see if it's an offense, but I'm not so sure. So we will pursue that. We will insist. We have insisted before that you should not be allowed to take a picture of your ballot and put it in the public domain. I think it breaches the law. We will check.
And the question about the payment.
Well, we know they are paid. Look, in Plaisance, they were offering 150,000 for people to be a candidate. And at least one person come to me and say, "Bana, I'm going to refuse though. But what I promise you, I ain't going to do no work." And that person, this one I'm talking about is not Plaisance, it's another area. But in Plaisance, we know they offered people money. Across the country, they offer people money. 5,000, 10,000, and those who they want to be candidate in areas like Vicelas, they got as much as 150 to 200,000.
All right. Are there any other questions as we wrap up today's press conference? All right. With no other hands being raised, I will take it to mean that we are finished with today's press conference. I want to thank the media personnel for attending today's press conference again, and we do hope that you have a wonderful afternoon.